Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning, joining us at Journey Home Meditation for the morning sit. We're going to do a little bit of discussion around some ideas. We'll do a bit of breathing together and enter into a little shared meditation. So thanks for joining. I'm Michael, and I'm happy to be here today. We often start off this morning practice discussing what it means to be happy, because in many ways we live in a culture that sort of replaces happiness with pleasure. With if something is pleasurable, if it's not pleasurable, we don't tend to include it as being happy. And happiness then becomes synonymous with pleasurable. So when we think that something is pleasurable, we think we are happy. And we have this ability to chase down these things that bring us pleasure nonstop. And these might not even be positive things or good things. And they may not even be things that make us feel better as humans, but there might still be a way to get some pleasure out of the act. I'll give you an example because it can start getting a little heady otherwise. When we are triggered into our emotions of anger, for instance, a lot of times it's based upon receiving information that tends to other us. And by othering, I mean puts us in the position and to the opposite of what the person that we're getting information about is taking. It happens a lot in politics, right? This is happening all the time. And in fact, I would say that we are at a point now where we've reached kind of peak politic, and politics it's no longer civics. It's no longer talking about civic law or duties or any of those things. Not that I necessarily am super excited about those conversations either, but now politicking is the act of getting people onto your side. And to do that, you have to create sides. You have to create, at least two different sides. And one side is obviously a super threat to the other. And so we're reaching peak politic in that it's not just about the political candidates. It's not just about our political system. We now apply this same tactic to the music we listen to the fashion that we like, to the films that we like. And this is evidenced on social media platforms where, people are constantly arguing back and forth about their preferences. And so when you start to receive information, a lot of times that information is already geared towards making us upset, towards making us angry. Right? This is the intention behind the information. This is the format that they're using is especially crafted towards creating opposition. And when we start to do this, we can create things that bring us a level of pleasure that aren't necessarily bringing us health, that aren't bringing us wholeness, that aren't bringing us even happiness. It's just pleasure. And we start receiving pleasure because we are identifying with one another. And that gives us a small sense of security, right? When there's an other, when there's an enemy at the gate, and you are hearing the voices of the people around you, it can be really satisfying, if not even fulfilling in some way to hear voices of safety, voices that agree with you. And maybe I'm going on a little too long here, so I want to bring this into a succinct idea. We take sides, and taking sides brings us a level of pleasure because we're achieving the safety that we're seeking. We're achieving the belonging that we're seeking that has been threatened, and we're acquiring some level of permittance, right? Some level of we are now permitted to be a part of a group. And social media especially is created for pleasure seeking, for those things that bring us any level of feelings of safety and security when we are feeling dysregulated. And so it's both at the same time creating dysregulation in our bodies. Information creates dysregulation sometimes, especially when it's made to do that, right? So we're dysregulated by the sheer amount of information we receive on a daily basis. I mean, it's astronomical. Uh, I don't know what the comparisons would be, but I would imagine that the amount of information that we take in on a daily basis probably dwarfs that which our great grandparents would have received in a lifetime. And that's not hard to really think about when you look at, how much we are constantly receiving updates. I'm a New York Times subscriber through the app, and literally every hour there's a breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. I get these notifications. And there's always breaking news. There's always updates. There's always some sense of urgency. And that level of information has created in us this belief that we're acquiring wisdom because we've replaced wisdom with knowledge. And we've actually replaced knowledge just with the acquiring of information. Uh, you see where I'm going with this is like we're receiving information, so we think that we're receiving knowledge, and we think that knowledge is the same thing as wisdom. Because this is where we are in a culture. This is how we've been enculturated to understand the things that we're learning and the sides that we're taking. And in the same way we've been taught that, we've been taught pleasurable things, things that make us feel good in the moment. Briefly feeling good is equated to happiness. And so if something doesn't make us feel good, it's the opposite of happy. You see how that works? And so in the mornings when I say that I'm happy to be here, it's not always that it's pleasurable. It's not even that it's pleasurable at all. I do receive pleasure from being here. I do receive pleasure from having the ability to do this practice with others. That's an immense amount of pleasure. But I also have been able to find within myself, with or without this program, a way to be happy, even when I'm sad. And in fact, I'm happy because I'm sad. How to find that I'm happy because I'm bored, or that I'm happy because I'm in a little bit of pain today. I've got an infected tooth, so I'm in a little bit of pain. Not a lot. That's not, stopping my processes, but how am I happy to be in pain? That doesn't make sense. Well, the pain doesn't create the happiness, but my happiness is not dependent upon whether or not I'm uncomfortable. The happiness is a state that I've been able to find that can coexist with other states of being. And it's not a trick, and it's not some special thing that only I have found, or that some enlightened being bestows upon people. It's really just the ability to be able to understand that we can carry multiple things. We can carry all of those things with us, multiple things. Walt Whitman, one of my favorite poets, I named my second son after him. My son Whitman. It's named from Walt Whitman. And He said, "Do I contradict myself? Very well. I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes." Right? We are large. We are big enough to contain multiple ways of feeling and being at one time. And then it's not a matter of picking and choosing which one we want to be in. It's a matter of understanding that at any moment I am any of these things at the same time. I was asked by a person who I saw, she said, I see you and you always just seem happy. Like what? Why do you always seem so happy? What's your secret? I said, it's not a secret. I'll gladly tell you. I have the ability to be happy because I know how to be sad. I know how to be sad. I know how to do that. And I'm okay with it. And that's really what I wanted to talk about this morning was this practice does not give the promise of pleasure. This practice does not bring with it the promise of feeling good all of the time. And happiness doesn't even have to include bliss, the constant state of pleasure coming in. It can at times, of course. And there can be bliss even in the most dire of situations. Yes, this is absolutely true. But we are not here to chase down this feeling of toxic positivity, this feeling of ignoring what it is that doesn't bring me pleasure for the sake of seeking pleasure. We're here to stand with what is and be a welcoming host, right? We used to say in the village that I lived in that our goal is to be a strong host and a gentle guest, right? What does that mean? To be a strong host means that you can hold space for difficult things. You're the host. You can make this work. You can hold this space because you feel grounded and centered in this space. And a gentle guest means that you recognize that I am treading on sacred ground when I am inside of my own self. And therefore, when I'm interacting with you, this is a sacred experience. So I want to be gentle. I want to come to you with a softer voice. I want to laugh with you, not at you. And I don't want to laugh despite you. I want to be a strong host. I want to hold this space for myself and for you. And I want to be a gentle guest while I'm here. And I've been reading these articles that are coming out lately. I get them in my news feeds because the algorithms are created to keep you wrapped in your bias loop. And so the algorithms send me the articles about meditation. Go figure. And lately, there's this string of articles coming out about should meditation come with a trigger warning? And studies show that people who meditate are oftentimes not as happy as people who don't. I don't know where they're coming up with this, but there's clearly a push by some interested parties to get the idea into people's minds that going inward, going into yourself is a bad idea. That's a bad place to be. Don't go there. Buy this product, drink this mushroom drink, do this exercise program, get this app on your phone, listen to this podcast, not this podcast, all of these things, yada, 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 on and on and on. This is the way to be happy. Don't you feel better now? Don't you feel good? Isn't this what you want, is to feel good? You know, eat this food. You're going to feel good. Do this thing. You'll feel good. This all feels good. You don't like your partner? Well, guess what? You don't have to stay there. Don't work anything out. You deserve better. You need to feel good. Leave everybody. This constant barrage of these ways in which we escape. Everything has got an escape hatch. Everything in our society. When you're struggling with something, turn it off. It's not a problem. You don't like the way you're communicating with someone, walk away. Not a problem. And these escape hatches are sold to us not as escape hatches, but as the entryway into bliss. This is how you're going to feel good. You're going to make these choices to feel good. And I want to tell you, no one has ever promised you that you're going to feel good all the time with meditation and mindfulness. That's not the point. That is an effect eventually down the line. You'll get to a place where you learn how to balance and carry these things. And that looks like feeling good to someone who feels imbalanced. We see these people, like Mingyu Rinpoche. He's he's happy. You see him; he seems content. He seems okay all the time. I don't think he's faking it. I think he's figured out balance. He's figured out how to carry his burdens in such a way that there's the least amount of stress or strain. And to somebody who can't do that yet, that looks pretty good. So there's this notion that these things are going to make me feel good all the time. And then as soon as they don't, as soon as these practices start to make us feel a little uncomfortable, we bail. I see it all the time. I see it in my own in-person meditation programs. I'll have people who get really excited about the meditation for the first few sessions that we have together in these group sessions. They get really excited, and then they go into some practices and they start to feel deep sadnesses arise, or they start to feel frustrations come up, or they start to feel incongruences with the way they live and the way that they are starting to find out they actually function internally. And they get upset, as they should. We should get upset when we start to touch into things that are not flowing well. But getting upset, that's serving a purpose. That's helping us to find our way into healing. That's a symptom. And symptoms are there for a reason. They're flagging us down and saying, hey, look over here. It's getting our attention. That attention, bringing you that attention, that's love. Attention is the currency of love. When we pay attention, we're giving that currency. We're saying, I want to learn to love you more. Teach me to love you. And in doing so, I'm going to learn to love me. And that works not just both ways, but every way. Falling into love is not a one-way street. There's a recipient, yes, but we all receive when we learn how to give, and when we learn how to give freely, we learn how to receive. You can't have one without the other if there's true love being generated here. Right? Attention is the currency of love. Mary Oliver says that attention is the beginning of devotion. And this, like I always say, is a devotional practice. So I think about that when I read these articles of people wanting to say that perhaps mindfulness and meditation needs a trigger warning. Perhaps it's going to make people more sad eventually, and it's not good for people. Well, I'm not afraid of my painful feelings. Not today. Not because I'm a big, strong, tough guy, but because I have sat with them. I have sat with those painful feelings many, many times. And they're not here to harm me. They're not. Learning how to sit with my painful feelings has really helped me to be okay. In fact, even be happy. All right. I think maybe let's do a little bit of breathing together. We'll get into a little bit of a shared practice. And I'll bring us just a touch of music here to help us find our path in. So, if you'd like, let's find our meditation posture. A meditation posture is not a fixed position that we move our bodies into every time. However, it's a place that we find balance right now. So if you're seated as I am, you might want to put your feet flat to the floor or have your legs crossed in any number of positions. Extend your spine, opening up your body. Feel that opening as you bring your shoulder blades together just slightly in the back to open your chest and open your heart. And if you can bring your attention inward, you can start to feel what your breath feels like inside of your body. Breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly. And release. Take your time with your breath. We don't have to breathe all of the air at once, just a little bit at a time. So breathing in, just allowing the belly to gently fill. And then hold for just a moment to feel what that feels like to be filled with this life-giving force. Closing the eyes if you can focus on the back of your eyelids. Slowly breathing out. Breathing in and out. Remember, this is not a beginning and an ending relationship. This is a cycle that rolls and rolls on. You won't find an end result to your practice, but you can go into depths that you could not imagine. And then you become larger. When your thoughts start to become stronger, trying to pull you into pleasure, pull you out of boredom or discomfort, just allow those thoughts to be and marvel at that amazing and powerful experience that exists within you. Huh, look at that. Look how strong my mind is. Notice how your body wants to respond to your thoughts, but you can also gently move back to the body, bringing a slower sensation of safety and belonging into your own being. And then let the thoughts respond to that. Bring attention to how the body feels as you slow down and move into this deep, relaxing breath. And watch the mind as it slowly recedes back. And you come to a place where feeling and thinking seem to be synonymous. So much so they just quietly disappear into the background. And you are there in the center of it all, floating. And you can stay in this place as long as you like. And once you find it, slowly open your eyes and bring yourself into this world, integrating that place that you find inside of yourself, integrating it into this world all around us. And you can understand that you don't just have to let the world into who you are, you can let who you are into the world. And even with all of the things that we feel, there's nowhere to run, and there's no need to try. You just let yourself have these feelings, and you sit with them, and you host them as a strong host. And you learn from yourself how to be a gentle guest in your own body, a gentle guest in your own mind. You know, there's this thing that happens when my thoughts start to race, and I am like, it's like an addiction that I need to seek something that's going to bring me pleasure in that moment, because that's going to take me out of the racing thoughts. So I have a pretty intense sugar addiction that I am working with all of the time. And I just will crave something sweet or some kind of a high sugar snack. And I have to sit with that feeling and be with it. And it's like the brain just starts to go into overload, right? It's just firing left and right. And that's how an addiction works, right? We start having these obsessive kind of perseverant thoughts. We can't get the sweets out of our head, or the drink, or the smoke, or the sex, or the binge watching, or our phones. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And you start to actually get anxiety if you reach to where your phone usually is and it's not there, and you go, oh my God, what did I do? Oh, I just set it over here this time. I can't be the only one that has experienced that. Uh, but that chattering mind, I like to think of it like when you have kids at a sleepover, and it's just all of their little voices, when I'm talking like when they're young, and their voices are just building on each other, and it's so loud and it's so vibrant, and there's so much energy in the room. And it's this like, whoa, these guys are full of life. This is full of energy here, but it's getting late. And you know what it's looking like if six kids are having a sleepover, stay up until 2 in the morning. It's going to be an awful day tomorrow. Everybody has these different levels of need for rest, but it's pretty safe to say that there comes a point where you got to put the kids to bed. And you hit all this chatter, all this noise, and all this resistance. All right, come on, it's time for bed. We're going to get ready for bed. Oh, I don't want to. My mom says I can stay up as late as I want. You're going to get all of this chatter, all this resistance, and all these ways. I just need to get something to drink. I just need to use the restroom. I'm really hungry. I need this. I need that. And it's all these little things that are trying to extend that energy, extend that space for that level of explosive energy. But then you finally reach the point where you get the kids to bed and they sleep. They just go to sleep eventually. And there's that moment of, now I'm breathing easier. The kids are all safe. They're all asleep. The house is quiet. I can relax into myself. And in a lot of ways, being able to do this practice, and especially when the thoughts are so explosive and racing so much, and you're just seeking a way out, instead of giving it more ammunition, instead of throwing information at it on our phones, or binge watching TV, or binge eating junk food, or whatever it is, what if we are to go inside and just be with it for a moment and let it work itself down and out and put those kids to bed? And the thoughts are going to bed. The thoughts are calming, and there's less resistance. And then one by one, those thoughts go to sleep. And now here I am, just breathing and being. Thanks for joining today. You can always reach out to me, Michael, at journeyhomemeditation@gmail.com. I love getting your messages. I love the correspondence that we have. If you have questions, comments, or would like something to be discussed in these morning programs, something you want me to share with others, you can write that in a message to me, or you can even go to the link on the Facebook and look for the Spotify show. And in the Spotify description of the show, there's a link you can follow to leave me a voice message. You can do it through your phone, you can do it through your laptop, through your tablet, however it is you're listening to this program. And I really appreciate those messages, and I have the ability to play them on the show. So if you'd like to say something to the others who participate in this morning practice together, please do. Thanks for being here today.